Okay, this question, there's parts of it that are really challenging, and parts, if you just calm down and look at it and think about it, that aren't challenged, they're not so hard at all. Well, let's try it. It's a quadratic sequence. It's got the following properties. The second difference is 10. Well, that's the one that goes constant, right? So when you make your triangle when you're doing a quadratic formula, you've got like 3 numbers and then 2 numbers and then 1 that you can do the whole thing in. You know that 10's sitting there. You know that 2a equals 10. Well, that's how they got 5. 2a equals 10, divide both sides by 10. That must be 5. And then you know something else. So you know now that a is 5. T1 equals T2. Well, you could write it down as x and x. If you're going to find the first difference, if T2 and T1 are exactly the same, when you subtract them, you'll get 0. So we've got a is 5. Well, 3 times 5 is 15. And then you take away 15, there's why b is minus 15. So you get half the answer without doing anything fancy. But you're going to have to build a triangle and put in the things you don't know, like call it x and x. This is how they showed. There's more than one way to do it, but this is a nice way they showed in the memo. Let's take a look. So there's x and x, the two terms we don't know. And then there's your third term. Well, that's T3 minus x, but that's 0 and 10. Well, we've got 2a equals 10, so a is 5. And if that's 3 times 15, b must be minus 15. So there's a whole lot of work right there already done. Now, if you go T3 minus x and you subtract 0, it should equal 10. So we've got a way of looking at T3 minus x minus 0. That gives you 10. Well, now we've got a way of expressing T3, which is T3 is really x plus 10. But hang on a sec. We were given that x plus T3 equals 28, or 2x plus T3 equals 28. But hang on, T3 is x plus 10, so we can replace it with x plus 10. Well, that would make this 3x plus 10 is 28, 3x equals 18, x equals 6, x equals 6. And now you go a plus b plus c. Well, a is 5, b is minus 15. That's going to be minus 10. Add it. There you go. C is 16. And that's it. You've done the whole thing. But even if you hadn't done all this, you should have been able to figure out the 2a is 10 and the 3a plus b is equal to 0. So you'd get a lot of marks, even though it's a pretty hard question. Now let's try the next one. You don't have to have done, there was no need to do any of this. It says, is 216 a term in the sequence? Well, all you do is let 216 equal the sequence and find out. And that's all they did. They took 216 and they let it equal the sequence. And okay, the 216 minus from 16 gives you minus 200. Now, they were very smart to see that 5 goes into everything here and divide everything by 5. And they got n squared minus 3n minus 40. Now, you could use the quadratic formula at this stage and substitute in a is 1, b is minus 3, and c is minus 40, and write down the two answers, 8 or minus 5. But, hey, minus 5 can't work. So the 8th term is 216. So the question is, yes, it is. It is. And I've just showed that the 8th term is 216. This is a pretty easy one to factor because 8 times 5 is 40, and 8 minus 5 is 3. So you should have seen those factors, but you could have used the quadratic formula. And there you go. There's question 3.